Welcome to this video from the Carleton University Library on evaluating academic, popular, news, and social media articles. Why do we need to use academic journal articles in our research assignments and projects? If we're asked to use academic journal articles, it is usually because we need the best information with which to work. This means choosing sources that give us access to high-quality research from other scholars. Where is that high-quality research usually published? In academic journals, not in popular, news, or social media publications. However, sometimes we can also use popular, news, and social media sources, so we must be able to identify and understand the nature of the sources that we find while we are doing our research. To identify and understand the nature of the sources we find, we will compare the key differences between various types of sources by using the Library Subject Guide for evaluating academic, popular, news, and social media sources. We'll start on the library homepage at library.carleton.ca. Underneath the Research Support column, we will click on the Guides link. Then on the Guides page, we will click on the Subject Guides link on the right-hand side of the page. Using the alphabet at the top, we will click on E for Evaluating. Then we will scroll down the page till we come to the link Evaluating Sources, Academic, Popular, News, and Social Media Articles, and we will click on this hyperlink. We can use this guide to evaluate which type of article or articles is appropriate for specific academic assignments. As we can see, this guide evaluates academic journal articles, popular magazine articles, news articles, and social media articles and posts using characteristics that are key to defining the nature of these sources: author-creator, purpose, audience and language, cited references, editorial process, publisher, publisher frequency, layout, and illustrations, visualizations, and advertisements. When we scroll down the page, we come to a number of drop-down menus. Each of these menus highlights the key characteristics of one type of source. Let's take a look at the information for academic journal articles. We'll open up the drop-down menu. Each of these menus contains the same information. First, we can see where a given source is published. In the case of academic journal articles, they are published in journals such as the Canadian Historical Review, the New England Journal of Medicine, and Global Environmental Change. Then we find a table that provides information about the source for each of the 9 key characteristics. Academic journal articles are typically written by experts in the field to share their latest research findings with other scholars. They are written in formal, specialized language, contain cited references, and the editorial process includes reviews by peers, that is, other experts in the same field. The publisher can be an academic society or press, and the journal can be published annually, semi-annually, monthly, and even weekly in the case of some scientific journals. We can see that there is a basic layout for many journals in certain fields, and that articles can contain illustrations, visualizations, and advertisements. Finally, we see that academic journal articles are usually required in academic assignments as either primary or secondary sources. It is important to check assignment instructions to identify the type of sources required. The peer review editorial process and the use of cited references are 2 of the key characteristics that distinguish academic journal articles from other types of sources. In contrast, popular magazine articles can be found in publications such as Maclean's, Time, The Conversation, and The Economist. Authors can be staff writers, freelance journalists, and guest authors. And the purpose over all of these articles is to report on news items and/or subjects of general or broad interest. Articles are written for a general audience, so the language is non-specialized, and typically These articles do not include cited references and are reviewed by an editor or editorial team. Magazines are typically produced by commercial organizations and published periodically, that is, at regular intervals, for example, monthly or weekly. They too can have a semi-standard format and can include illustrations, visualizations, and advertisements. Popular magazine articles may be included in academic assignments as primary or secondary sources. Again, it is necessary to check assignment instructions to confirm the types of sources required. It's important to note that popular magazine articles typically do not include cited references, and they are reviewed by an editor or editors, that is, an editorial team, not by peer reviewers. When we look at the key characteristics of news articles, we see that they are found in newspapers such as the Globe and Mail, the New York Times, and the Guardian. News articles may be written by staff writers, freelance journalists, and guest authors, and are published by a news organization and designed to report on news items and/or subjects of general or broad interest. It is important to note that these articles may be published to market or promote products or opinions, and some articles can be paid for by organizations and advertisers. News articles are usually written for a general audience and the language is non-specialized. News articles typically do not include cited references and are reviewed by an editor or editors, that is, an editorial team. The publisher is typically a commercial organization, and newspapers are typically published weekly or daily. There can be a standard layout, and news articles can include illustrations, visualizations, and advertisements. News articles may be used in academic assignments as primary or secondary sources, and once again it's important to check assignment instructions to identify the types of sources required. And finally, social media articles or posts, that is, content appearing, for example, in a blog, on a Twitter feed, and/or in a podcast, may be written by academics, journalists, freelance writers, activists, and community members. The purpose of these articles can be to establish expertise in a topic, report and comment on issues and/or subjects of general or broad interest, and to market or promote products or opinions. Some articles can be paid for by organizations and/or advertisers. Social media articles may be written for a general or specialized audience, may include cited references and/or links to specific sources, and may or may not have an editorial process. The publisher can be either an individual or an organization, and posts and/or content may be made or added at any time. The layout varies by platform, and social media articles can include illustrations, visualizations, and advertisements. And finally, social media articles may be used in academic assignments as primary or secondary sources, and it is important to check assignment instructions to identify the type of sources required. Remember that social media content is not peer-reviewed and may not include cited references. To see a comparison of all types of sources, click on the link to the Academic, Popular, News, and Social Media Articles document. And come back to this guide when you need to evaluate and understand the sources that you're using for your specific academic assignments. So remember, there are major differences between academic, popular magazine, news, and social media articles. Academic journal articles are written by experts in a field, are peer-reviewed, and include cited references, whereas popular magazine, news, and social media articles have other editorial processes and may not include cited references. However, academics can also share their research in popular, news, and social media publications, such as newspapers, magazines, for example, The Conversation, Twitter feeds, blogs, and podcasts. So we must identify, understand, and choose our sources based on the requirements of our academic work as well as key characteristics. This is the end of this video.